Hello, I'm Chris Baker. I'm the Senior Vice President for our technology business here in Oracle across Europe, Middle East and Africa. And I want to share with you today some of the things that I've learned from talking to many of our customers, mostly at CIO level, about some of the challenges that people have with their infrastructure today. And actually, it's really interesting, isn't it? When we talk about a data infrastructure environment, it's becoming a hot topic. The amount of information, the amount of data that people are collecting is probably doubling every year. The amount of transactions that are being required are going up by about 40% a year. But IT budgets are flat. But the cost of data centres is going up by about 20% a year. It's a significant business and strategic challenge. If we then think about it and think, well, what are the key elements? And when I talk to my CIO colleagues, they tell me there are really only three things that are critical in a data infrastructure. Firstly, they have to be able to deliver performance and availability. They have to be able to have something which is up all the time, but does perform. What's the point in having something there all the time if you can't get the answers out? Likewise, what's the point in having something which performs really, really well, but isn't available all the time? So performance and availability is critical. Obviously, with all of the data in an organisation, all the IPR, all of the customer data, everything being stored in that environment, security is now key as well. It's a legal obligation to secure the data. So security in the data infrastructure is absolutely critical. And then there's the big cost, the manageability. How do you manage that environment? Now, we've been talking about these things for years. Why is it so difficult to get to something which is sustainable, which is understood? And it's sort of interesting that the way that everybody has bought IT has been by project. The HR project, the CRM project, the financials project, the intelligence project. And every project has a timescale. Every project has a budget. Everybody knows what the deliverables of that project actually are. But the problem is that they're done as separate environments. Then, of course, at a data level, you have to be able to integrate everything together. Now, if you think of the applications as being individual items, let's call them meatballs. You've then got to think about how you integrate them all together, and it's hugely complicated. Think of that as spaghetti. So the analogy of what we've got today is actually spaghetti and meatballs. But now we're moving to a world with these massive data growths, with the advent of cloud computing, where you've got to have genuine elasticity. A spaghetti and meatballs model really doesn't give that. You have to think in terms of every project and how you're going to get elasticity into each project. Not a practical thing to do. So I would suggest that now we need to think about elasticity at every layer. And it is about layers. It's about layers of hardware, layers of operating systems, database, middleware, so you can put applications on the very top. The analogy I put for that is lasagna. So moving from a spaghetti and meatballs environment to a lasagna environment. If you do have that layered environment, if you do have an environment where you can look at your environment and place your applications on top, you can get genuine elasticity into your environment. You can start thinking about an infinite capacity model, because you have to be in the place where you can grow or shrink that environment as you wish to do it. With a lasagna type of model, you get that ability. With a spaghetti and meatballs model, you clearly can't. Here in Oracle, we think of things in layers. We think of standardization. We look at how can we put hardware and software together to make things easy, to give you architectural building blocks in layers. You can add to those, you can take them away as you wish to do it. It's about running an infrastructure. By doing that, you can start addressing the performance and availability issues. And because it just runs in standard Oracle environments, you can secure at the data level. You can put firewalls around it, but you can make sure that your data is secure. And because it's simple, you can manage the whole stack. You can manage from the real user interface, what's happening to those users, all the way through applications, middleware, database, operating system, down into the hardware. You can manage the whole environment much more cost effectively, much more proactively. Our view is that if you have a strategic need to move towards a cloud environment, my view is everybody wants to do that. You have to build elasticity into your architecture. To do that, you've got to have a standardized architectural building block. We think that gives you the lasagna. Spaghetti and meatballs to lasagna. It's a strategic issue.